As the head of the Ford Foundation, you're one of the most important people in the world of philanthropy. But tell us, how has the world of philanthropy changed because of COVID?
Well, I'm not sure I agree that I'm the most important. I think I am part of a constellation of people who are lucky enough to lead foundations like Ford or Rockefeller, MacArthur, any of the great legacies. But COVID has absolutely impacted how we do our work, both internationally and domestically. Let's start with internationally. The reality of this moment is that we are seeing tremendous inequality in the ways in which vaccines are being distributed, the ways in which they're being manufactured, and the issues around cost, intellectual property, which are profound and are having a tremendous negative impact, especially for people in Africa and much of the global South. In the United States, we know that COVID has meant that communities that are historically the most vulnerable are doubly impacted because of COVID. And so what that has meant for philanthropy is that we've had to double down in some ways and also recognize that in the United States, the COVID moment has coincided with the George Floyd racial reckoning moment. And that has brought into stark relief the challenges for people of color, especially in low-income communities.
Okay, let's talk about the Ford Foundation and something you've done that's innovative to deal with COVID. So when COVID came, you convinced the Ford Foundation trustees and some others we'll talk about to borrow money. You went out and borrowed $1 billion. Why did you need to do that?
Well, we needed to do that because, as you recall, at the beginning of COVID, back in March and April of 2020, the markets were very choppy. And what I was concerned about was, on the one hand, on the need side, we were hearing from many arts organizations, organizations working on food security and direct services, that they were in huge distress. Remember, arts organizations had closed their doors. There was no revenue. The nonprofit fundraisers had been canceled. Donors were beginning to get a little nervous about pledges. So we would see the need to increase our spending, while at the same time, our denominator, our endowment, was going down in value. And I'd seen that happen in the last down market cycle, where the need went up and our endowment went down. So in order to really address the need side while maintaining, I think, good fiscal responsibility of managing the endowment, and of course, because of the luck of having Jerome Powell in charge of the Fed and basically announcing in the middle of March that money was free, basically. And what happened with the yield curve made it really quite possible for us to think about debt as opposed to taking money out of the endowment. And so it was really just a matter of arbitrage in some ways.
Was it hard to convince your trustees to do that?
Initially, they thought it was out of the box, of course, because no foundation had done that before. But once, especially the investment committee, started to think about the options, it became clear that it was the best option.